That video sums it up wonderfully. Andy, thank you for your leadership. You've done so much for so many in this community, and I'm honored to be one of those people. Now to present the inaugural Andrew J. McKenna Leadership Award for our 2021 recipient, please join me in welcoming Mr. Andy McKenna.
Well, thank you, Sean, for those kind words. And thank you to the entire United Way of Metro Chicago team. You've done a great job, and particularly in this past year. We're all committed to a better Chicago, providing opportunities for everyone and encouraging others to do the same. We should never settle for good enough. We must keep improving. And one who has consistently manifested improvement, particularly helping the lives of Chicagoans through his own exemplary civic leadership and philanthropy, is my close friend, John Madigan. I'm honored that John is the first recipient of this leadership award. You know, it's an easy assignment for me to talk about John. A friend of mine for 50 plus years, starting with the board of directors of Pat Ryan and Associates in 1967. He's a remarkable leader in the community and in his family life. John is the father of 3, a grandfather of 7, some of whom can beat their grandfather in golf. Further, he has served on the board of many other leading companies and organizations. And most important is John and who he is. A few years ago, John told me he was going out to Auburn Gresham, one of Chicago's neighborhoods. Once there, he saw many needs, and of course, like John, he responded to them. Auburn Gresham benefits from United Way, and now John Madigan. I'm often asked by people, is John different than when you first met? Well, I think so. He's smarter, he's kinder, I even think he's taller. But most important, like all of us, he's better. I'm proud to say John is one of my dearest friends, and I congratulate him on receiving this award. And now, John, there are a few others who would also like to share some words about you.
I'm Randy Lyon. I met John and Holly Madigan almost 40 years ago when we moved to Chicago. Our friendship has grown even stronger in the last 10 to 15 years as we've spent more time together.
I'm Dennis Fitzsimons. I first met John about 40 years ago when we were both working at Tribune Company.
My name is Phyllis Lockett, and I met John Madigan when he was my founding board member on the New Schools for Chicago board.
I'm Shirley Ryan and Pat, and John Madigan has held our respect and admiration since the first time we've met him.
You're a friend of John's. You're a friend for life.
He is a force to be reckoned with when he believes in something.
When I first met John, he was a very imposing figure.
The quality of John and what he really is, and I've come to know it even more in recent years. I'd say he's very caring.
I think John's strongest quality is his character.
Generous with both his time, his resources, his experience. That would be the word I would use. He's mentored an awful lot of people who've benefited from his experience and, as I said, his generosity.
John is an extraordinary civic leader, and he's so generous, but he is quiet about his generosity. He really is so humble that he doesn't make a big deal out of what he does.
John was always very supportive and just a great guy to work for and with.
John Madigan were a tree, what would he be?
Initially, I thought of an oak, but now, as most of us in this age group are shrinking, I think more of a sequoia because John doesn't seem to shrink. I don't understand this. The rest of us are getting shorter and John is still up there.
I think it's clear. He'd be an oak tree.
He's an oak tree because he's as solid as an oak. He's tall like an oak tree.
So John Madigan, to me, would be the oak tree.
In addition to the characteristics of the acorns that it drops And John has dropped many acorns of role models, more than I think he realizes. People who respect him and admire him and listen to him.
I know he likes elm trees too, but he's an oak.
John is a straight shooter. You get what you see.
John, you are most deserving of this honor. You've done so much for so many people, and you're a great friend to many. And as I've thought about it, if I were looking for an ally and I was going into battle, I'd pick you.
John does many quiet things that people do not know about. And that's one of the things we admire in him. It's appropriate that he receives the Andy McKenna Award because they're kindred spirits.
It's my great honor to join Andy in presenting the inaugural Andrew J. McKenna Leadership Award to Mr. John Madigan.
Well, it's my honor to present this award to John Madigan. John's a great friend, an important community citizen, and I think a very well deserving of any award. So John, congratulations.
Thanks so much, Andy and Sean, for those introductions. I really appreciate it. And I feel taller, Andy, getting this award. I have to tell you that. I also want to thank all of the people at United Way who I've worked with over the years, and all the supporters of this event who have come forward in honor of Andy and of course of me. I've been involved with United Way for 45 years. I've been in de Tocqueville all that period, and I've worked on the campaign and chaired the campaign. And of course the McCormick Foundation, which I'm a director of, has an alliance with the United Way, and we have combined given something like, we'll be given something like $15 million at the end of this year to neighborhoods in Chicago. Neighborhoods have been important in the city to my family. As Andy mentioned, we've been in Auburn Gresham through St. Sabina's School. We've been involved with the Polaris Charter Academy in Humboldt Park, and my daughter is president of the Erie Elementary School in the North Side, and we are all 100% for the Chicago neighborhoods. I'm really honored to be a friend of Andy's. As he said, we've been great friends for over 50 years, and I'm really proud of that. He's also been a mentor to me. He's helped me through many different issues. He was a director of our company and became the lead director, and just helped me in so many ways. There's a lot of Mr. Chicagos. I've gone to retirement parties for a lot of people that they called Mr. Chicago. But Andy has done more for Chicago than all of those guys put together. I really mean that. He has been so involved. Civically, he's been in charge of just about everything that you could be in charge of in Chicago. In business, he built Schwarz from a small company to a very important one. He's been a director of umpteen companies, most famously McDonald's, where he's been chairman emeritus still, and made so many contributions to the business world. Education has been a big thing with him. He was a founder of Big Shoulders. He founded Lalamere Academy in Indiana, which is famous for a lot of reasons, including having a graduate that's now the head of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice. He has revitalized Leo High School, his alma mater, and been chairman of that little school down in Indiana called Notre Dame. Andy's a great sportsman. There's nobody that's been chairman of two baseball teams in the same city, the Cubs and the White Sox. And he's also been a director of the Bears and a part owner of the Bears. But of course, most importantly, he's been a great family man. He has so many grandchildren and a mounting number of great-grandchildren. I can't even give you the statistics because they change every day. Had a wonderful wife, Joni, The whole family is just fantastic. And Andy, I know he's proud of them in so many ways. I'll conclude with a little story. Many years ago, when I was first getting to know Andy, I went to lunch with one of his closest friends. And I said to that person, what drives this guy? What makes him get up in the morning at 4 o'clock and start his day and end it at 9 o'clock after breakfast, lunch, dinner, mass, you name it. He's done everything all day long, day after day. And the guy looked at me and he said, you know what? He said, Andy wants to be the best liked person in Chicago. And you know what? After all these years, he is the best liked person in Chicago. And because of all of that, I am so proud to receive this award. I just can't tell you how much it means to me and my family.
Well, John, congratulations. And thank you to both you and Andy for taking just a few minutes to talk with us a little bit about your experience and leadership here in Chicago. John, I'm going to begin with you. What has being a civic leader in Chicago meant to you?
Just came naturally. My predecessors were great leaders in Chicago, and I hope that I could endeavor to become a significant leader in the city. It helped to balance my work life and got me deep into the fabric of the city, even though I lived in the suburbs all the time. I just really, really enjoyed doing civic work. It just came easy, and of course I had Andy to help me find the way. It was just so important to me, and always will be, no matter how old I get.
What about you, Andy? You've dedicated so much of your life to civic leadership in our community. What has it meant to you?
Well, Sean, it's meant a number of things. I grew up in the city, had a lot of friends who you got together through school and through sports and what have you. And always there was somebody they wanted to have, not maybe lead them, but certainly organize them. And I was fortunate to be able to do some of those things. And as time went on, I connected with people like John Madigan, who had a real understanding of the needs of the city, the people of the city, and smart guys, people who were always smarter than I was. John's one of those. So it meant a lot to connect with people like John and to do the things that we felt good about. Things were good for, I thought, the community, but also for me and for my family. And looking back, I'm very happy that I did that, and happy that I had someone like John point the way.
Oh, that's great. Now, you both have traveled the world and been in so many different places, but you've always centered in Chicago. Why Chicago? What does it mean to you? What's so great about our community? Andy, why don't we begin with you?
Well, you know the story, Sean, and John knows it well. They used to say Chicago used to be called the city that works. And I think that was attractive early, certainly. Community working together to achieve the needs of the community, and people connecting together. I think that's always been easy in Chicago. You think John went out to Auburn Gresham to see the community and see what some of the needs were. So I think there's a certain fabric in Chicago, a mixture of people from all different kinds of backgrounds, from a lot of different nationalities, but all understanding the needs of the community. And I think that binds us together and gives us something to work for.
Oh, that's great. And John, what about you? Why Chicago? Why has it been so important to you and your career and your family?
It's been everything. I never thought of living anywhere else. I've lived here all my life. Went away to Michigan, as Andy said, but always came back because it seemed to have everything for me. And getting involved in work of the commercial club and the civic committee and United Way, where people came together, business people, religious people, philanthropic people came together to solve problems, like charter schools. When the charter school movement started, we jumped all over that and raised a couple $100 million and opened up charter schools. In like 3 years, we had, I forget how many schools, but a lot. And that to me was one of the greatest examples of how people in Chicago come together to get things done.
Oh, that's great. We're facing another moment in our community that's really a defining moment. How do we recover from this COVID pandemic that has hit all of us? And as we think about, there's so much work that needs to get done. And I think of the two of you as great leaders who have led this community before through these types of challenges. What advice do you have for all of us on how we overcome the current situation we're in? And specifically, what should United Way be doing? What role can we play in helping our community recover from what we've experienced over the last year? John, I'll begin with you on this question.
Sean, I'm concerned. I don't mean to be negative on this very wonderful day, but I'm concerned that we've been so bifurcated that it's going to be difficult to come back together. And the unions that we had in the business lunches, the sporting events, all of the things that we used to do and take for granted all the time. I just hope they can all come back. If they don't, we will have lost something very significant. So I think it's going to take a lot of work, starting with our political leadership and getting things unwrapped here and letting people try to come back to the way they acted and functioned before. It's gonna take a real effort on a lot of people's parts to get back to where we were.
Oh, absolutely. And what about you, Andy? What advice do you have as we come out of this and try to recover? What steps should we be taking? What role can United Way and others take to help lead our community back?
Yeah, well, Sean, I try to be a little more optimistic, but I don't disagree with John's premise at all. I do think, though, organizations like United Way can play a strong role in bringing communities together, particularly your neighborhood work, where you're connecting different neighborhoods and city leadership. It's difficult to pick any one way to get back. And John's right. The political leadership has to play a more important role than they have, and that's vital. But I think special organizations, and particularly United Way, can provide leadership and really can show the way. So let's hope that we can all get that done. And Sean, I think someone like you who gets into the area, knows the neighborhoods, knows the city, can play a strong role.
So John and Andy, you both have created an amazing legacy for leaders like me and others to follow. And frankly, I worry about that every day, of how we reach that leadership that you all have attained. And yet, we want others to follow that steps moving forward. So how do we carry that forward? What advice do we have, or do you all have, to really help pass that torch moving forward so that each generation leads in the ways that you and John have done so much? And so Andy, we'll begin with you, and then we'll end with John for the last word today.
Well, thanks, Sean. I might flip the question to you, Sean. You came here from Charlotte. What was attractive coming back to Chicago for you? But before you answer that, I think that people like you and other leadership folks, both corporate and special social organizations, have to work together. We need it at the governmental level, and we need it at the citizen level. And it's difficult. But I think leadership comes in different packages and different forms. Fortunately, John and I have been part of that package for over some years. But Sean, you and your role at United Way can play a very important role.
Well, that's kind of you to say, Andy, and I appreciate it. And I came back to Chicago in large part because of what I saw when I came here as a 22-year-old. I saw a city that was just unbelievably impressive, but led by people who cared about the city first. They were leaders around the community and around the country, but they cared about Chicago, and that was something that meant a lot to me. And when I had the opportunity to come back, I couldn't miss it. So, John, we'll turn to you for our last conversation, but really, how do we continue this legacy of leadership and philanthropy and civic engagement that Chicago has had, and that you and Andy have been leading examples of for the last multiple decades?
Business leadership needs to really think about this and really take hold of it, because that's what has driven a lot of the good things that have happened in Chicago over the years. And it's going to come from things like the commercial club, the economic club, the civic committee, all sorts of organizations. And Sean, I'm throwing it back at you too. I think that organizations like United Way have to keep coming up with excellent strategies like you have with neighborhoods to entice business people to get involved, to contribute time and money, and get behind efforts to revitalize the parts of Chicago that aren't working so well, that really need a lot of help. So I think it's a joint effort that's going to have to come from nonprofits, from business, even from the church. It's a big order. I think we're up to it. It's going to take some time, going to take a lot of money, going to take some political leadership.
Well, John and Andy, thank you. Thank you for making the time for the conversation today. I know I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you all. And we take the challenge. We take the challenge that you all have given us of it's our job to continue your legacy. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure that today is just a remembrance of all that work, but it's also an opportunity for us to continue the work and move it forward for the decades to come. So thank you for making the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Andy and John, thank you. That was a wonderful conversation. You both are the gold standard of civic leadership and philanthropy that we're all working to emulate every single day. And John, congratulations once again for being recognized as the 2021 Andrew J. McKenna Leadership Award honoree, and to Harris Associates for receiving the 2021 Corporate Leadership Award. You've probably heard me talk a lot over the last couple of years, and even earlier in today's program, about the work we're doing, because the work of United Way of Metro Chicago is made possible by all of you, our corporate, community, civic, philanthropic, and individual partners. Through our Neighborhood Network initiative, we're bringing together hundreds of community partners every day in 10 neighborhoods. Our partners live, work, and intimately know their community's biggest challenges, but also greatest opportunities. They are working in unison towards common goals to strengthen their neighborhoods in areas of economic and workforce development, education, housing, safety, and more. Our role is to mobilize philanthropic, private, corporate, and public sector resources to support our partners' goal for transformation in their neighborhoods. We're not trying to create pathways out of neighborhoods, but rather working to galvanize resources and invest in place-based solutions that close the economic and life expectancy gaps. We can't thrive as a city and a region if the majority of our residents are left behind. When all of our neighborhoods are stronger and more equitable, every child has access to quality education, our communities are safer, our neighborhoods are healthier, incomes increase, and the economy grows. When we treat all neighborhoods as the heartbeat of our region, all Chicagoans have the opportunity to thrive. So in closing, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your ongoing partnership and for taking the time to come along us with this journey. Not just today, but every day as we work together to build a stronger, more equitable Chicago region. And before we return back to our everyday schedules, we'd like to introduce Jarrett Blake, a talented junior at Leo High School in Auburn Gresham and a rising spoken word poet, to share a heartfelt message of appreciation for John Madigan and for our entire philanthropic community who continue to work for our Chicago region where every person, no matter their zip code, has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you, Jarrett, for sharing your talent and for closing out our program today.
Mr. John Madigan, today is a celebration. A congratulations for the trials and tribulations you have overcome to reach this point in your life. To be chairman and CEO is an accomplishment within itself. Holding those positions, you helped build Tribune Company into one of the nation's strongest and most influential media organizations. You should be proud, joyous even. To be the former chairman of the McCormick Foundation, you helped plot the course for a charity that is among the most prominent and generous in the city of Chicago. But do not become comfortable, for comfortability breeds complacency. And a complacent man you are not, because throughout his career, Mr. Madigan has understood and embodied the principle of giving back, which is why he is being honored today. Mr. Madigan worked hard to support St. Sabina School and my school, Leo High School. He is a pillar of the Auburn Gresham community and has done a lot for a student like myself. A young black male from a single-parent home with a loving mother who wants nothing but the best for her son. This is a man with a higher purpose, a gift for giving that has yet to cease to amaze me. A man with a big heart, John Madigan. My name is Jared Blake. I am a junior at Leo High School, and I thank you, sir.